Psych! Sorry guys, I know I said that the next re-uploaded Pokemon battles would all be RU. I forgot about this one little OU match that needed to be squeezed in. It's using the Sand team, so I'll let my past narration explain the battle.
He's got a Vaporeon against my Hippowdon. I obviously want to switch out because I don't want to take a stab super effective Scald. And I have a special wall in the form of Ferrothorn who resists it. The worst thing that could have happened there is he burned me. Thankfully he doesn't. And, that's good because I come up basically unscathed. And I have options because he's probably going to switch. So I go for Leech Seed just to see what's going to come in. I could have put Spikes up with the free turn, but opted for Leech Seed. And that's good because Zapdos comes in and I want to, get some Leech Seed on that. And obviously, you could probably defog my hazards away. Also, quite afraid of Heat Wave, so I decide to Protect just to see if he's got it, scout it out. But he goes for Roost because he obviously predicts the Protect. He just wastes a turn basically, and that's great because now I don't know if he's got Heat Wave or not, and I don't really want to stay in and find out the hard way. So I decide to switch to Clefable. And he Volt switches, which means I don't know if he's got Heat Wave still. And also, that means he can go into Metagross, which is obviously bad because, I'm going to get rolled by this thing's Meteor Mesh. And I could have gone to Hippo on this turn just to take it as a physical wall, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't going to go for Hammer Arm. So I went to Pharaoh just to resist the Meteor Mesh, and I take it pretty well. And I made a mental note to get damage on this Metagross, by the way, because I can't Toxic it, I can't use Sand on it, so I go straight for Leech Seed, even though he could still Hammer on me, but I wanted to get Leech Seed on something, especially Metagross, to try and whittle it down so something could, something like Heatran could finish it off with, Earth Power so I don't miss. But he just goes to Zapdos, which tells me, I don't know, he's got something to do against Ferrothorn, the way he just went back to it, even though he was obviously going to get Leech Seeded. So I go for Spikes just to see if he's got Defog. I decide to test the water. And as a result, I'm now going to go for Protect. Now he's probably not going to predict me to Protect because obviously, he could be doing stuff. He thinks I'm setting up hazards, so he wants to ruin my day. But I Protect and see he's got Defog, so that's good for me. So my Spike's there to stay. And now I'm just going to switch to Hippo because the Sand's gone and I want it back up. I don't really know. There's not really much I want to do in with Ferrothorn anyway because, he has Heat Wave. I finally see he has Heat Wave. Hippo takes it really convincingly too, so that just ended up being an all-round good switch. And even if he defogs here, I'm slower so I can get rocks up after that, and all the while he's going to be getting whittled down by Sand and Leech Seed. This is just all kinds of good for me, so Stealth Rock goes up. He just flat switches, so now I've got rocks and spikes, which is pretty good. I don't want to stay in on Vaporeon. I also don't want to get Skull Burned on Ferrothorn, so I decide to just go to Clefable this time and try and do something. It'd be nice to get this thing toxic. I think that was my thought process at the when I went into Clefable. But I'm getting kind of down there, and I didn't really want him to just switch into Metagross and absorb the toxic, so I opt for Soft Boil just to get some health back. He goes for Wish. Don't know what he wants to switch to. Probably Zapdos, but I can't kill it, so I just have to make do with that. I go back to Pharaoh. Why did I go? Oh, yeah, because I was fearing Metagross at this point, so I decided to go to Pharaoh, thinking that I'd be okay. And I could get some Leech Seed on it or something, so that happens. And then, obviously, because Zapdos is in, I don't want to stay in with Pharaoh. So I'm just gonna go to Shuckle. There's no reason for me to protect as well. Just gives him a potential turn of advantage. So go to Shuckle. No matter what it wanted to do, I figured I'd be okay because I can sponge both the hits it can dish out. And if he defogs, I get an evasion boost, which is just awesome. I love this about Contrary Shuckle. It's just such a good defog absorber. It's hard to kill anyway, and now it's got a chance for it gives everything else a chance to miss. So that's awesome. And he goes into Rhyperior after he sees Shuckle come in, which is good. So I went for Infestation expecting Metagross. Is how this entire turn of events it played out. I expected Metagross, so I Infestationed him. Then he brings in Rhyperior, so he went for Stealth Rock, and I thought he'd go for Stealth Rock, so I clicked Encore, which is just absolutely ridiculous because now this thing's trapped, stuck on Stealth Rock. I have Toxic for it, and this is basically what the Shuckle set was intended to do against walls that can't really hurt it too bad. The only reason this thing could hurt me bad is if he had Stone Edge, and there's quite a high chance he'll miss. So I'm really not scared of it. I'm just going to squeeze the metaphorical juices out of this thing. There's not a damn thing he can do. I know it's cruel, it's torturous, and that's what this set was intended to do. So that's the way it went down. The problem is, of course, Encore wears off one turn too early, and even though I'm pretty convinced he'd miss the Stone Edge, or I could probably take it, I knew I probably wouldn't take it that well, so I just rested, but he EQs, and waste of a rest, really. And to make matters worse, the Infestation wears out, so he's not dead, and he gets to switch out and save it, which is just like, crap. So, Now, obviously, I'm expecting him to switch. Now he's got the chance. And there's not much he could do to Hippo anyway. So I decided to just switch to Hippo, get Sand back up, and obviously put Rocks back up to make sure that thing stays dead, because obviously now it died to Hazards. And though Vaporeon is in, I'm pretty sure I can take a Scald quite well. I mean, not quite well, but I wouldn't die in one hit. So I decided to just put Rocks up there, and he Heal Bells, which means he definitely wanted to try and save Rhyperior. But no can do. Stealth Rocks are up there. And, you know, he's got a Wish in the air as I go into Pharaoh, just to sponge all the Scalds that he's going to throw at me. So I'm just going to put Leech Seed on this thing. I was expecting him to switch, actually, because of the Wish being in the air. But I guess he figured that he could take a Power Whip and, you know, obviously recover all the damage off and have a shot at burning me. You know, fair play. Good play on his part. But I just went for Leech Seed because I was expecting a switch. And I thought maybe he'd want to stay in because he stayed in. I wasn't really thinking as clearly as I am now in hindsight. So I clicked Power Whip, and now he goes into Zapdos, where I'd rather have it Leech Seeded. And obviously it missed, but it wouldn't do anything anyway. And now, this is my stupid little turn of events. I decide to stay in a Leech Seed, thinking he's going to defog. But unfortunately, he clicks Heat Wave. Now, I take it, not great, but with 2 rounds of Leech Seed and leftovers, I should be able to get up to a respectable amount of HP to come in later on things that I wall. So I protect here. He predicts it because it was obvious, but I couldn't not do it, because if he Heat Waved and I didn't protect, I'd feel really stupid and I'd lose Pharaoh. So I go for all this, I get all the recovery back, and then for some reason I stay in. I think I was just over-predicting, thinking, well, I'm obviously going to switch here. And that means he won't Heat Wave, because I could go to something like Heatran, for example, who with Flash Fire would roll this thing. So yeah, I lose Pharaoh, and that's huge, because Pharaoh was stopping a lot of stuff on his team, and now I don't have it, so that's pretty bad news. The good news, at least, is I can go into Hippo and Rock Slide, which is awesome. Not because it does super effective damage, but because now that he knows I've got Rock Slide, he's probably going to roost, because he's getting down there and he needs to roost back up. So, predicting this, I'm going to click EQ, because that is what pros do. And I was pretty sure he was going to roost, and the good news here is I can continuously click EQ, and he either has to switch or die, because he can't keep roosting, because I'm doing more than his roost. So Zapdos is pigeonholed into switching, at least in my head, so now I can get up Stealth Rocks for free, and that's great for me, because now they're up and he doesn't have any hazards up, so I can switch around freely. He can't, so that's good. Vaporeon's in, don't want to get hit, and the only thing I have left to sponge its hits is Clefable, which it does the job well, but I'd still rather have Ferrothorn at this point. And I really should have predicted Zapdos to come in here, by the way, and gone for a Moonblast, see if I could finish it off, because he's obviously going to come in for the Wish, and I could have finished it, but I didn't. I think my thought process was I want to switch to Garchomp, because Zapdos is coming in, I want to get up a Swords Dance, see if I can start sweeping things, but then I realized, wait, they're all just going to be faster than me, so yeah, that's not going to happen. So I like to just go for straight damage, not knowing what was going to come in. I went for Declaw because I didn't want to EQ and have Dragonite come in, and it would hit Gross okay, for maybe 20%, I don't know. And then when I've showed Dragonclaw, I expected Dragonite to not come in, so now I feel safe to go for EQ in case Gross wants to come in and resist it. But he just makes good use of Rhyperior, fodders it off, so, you know, that happens. And Metagross comes in, and it's definitely faster than me. Mega Metagross is pretty quick, so I have to switch. Luckily, I have some decent physical walls to take this, so I went to Shuckle to take the Ice Punch, because I knew it would take it quite well. And then, now I know he's not going for Ice Punch, I thought, okay, Hippo's safe to come in now, but then I realized, wait, after stabbing super effective, Meteor Mash and Ice Punch do the same damage, whoops! So I could have just brought it in anyway, but whatever. A little bit of damage on Shuckle never really hurt too much, I don't know. But I can come in now. I can slack off for more than he's doing, but I don't want to risk getting froze or getting Meteor Mash attack raises, or like him getting Meteor Mash attack raises. So now I know he's not going to do something that threatens Heatran. I can go into Heatran, threaten him with Fire Blast, and start smacking stuff around with Fire Blast. One thing I haven't done this game is like try to like beat him up. I've stalled well, kept hazards up well, but basically now I was just thinking I need to go on the offensive. So he switches into Zapdos, who dies to Fire Blast, as I knew it would, because it's probably physically defensive. Then he brings in Vaporeon to try and take the hit and get a Wish up. But I decide to test if he can take it, because they're usually physically defensive these days anyway. I don't know, maybe it wasn't, but I decided to try and kill it, and it does, and that's great. But then Victini comes in, so his walls are gone, but he's got 3 really powerful sweepers, which I need to deal with appropriately. And I'm not going to give up Heatran just for the sake of trying to 2-hit KO this thing, because I need it. It's important. It's going to be faster than his other guys. So now Shuckle's in just to sponge the hit from Victini. I'm going to then switch, predicting Metagross to come in, which is good. I got that one off. But he can still. I'm not confident I can kill him in one shot with EQ from there. So I decided to slack off. But then I was still starting to fear the hacks again. So I went for it. I went to try and kill it, and it doesn't kill it, and that really sucks because now Hippo is basically death fodder. Yeah, I really wish I'd slacked off a couple more turns just to try and gain some extra hit points so I could take 2 and try and kill him with EQ that way. But nope, I didn't. So I decided just at this point, because I wanted Sand back up, I decided to fodder off Clefable. Because obviously it's not important, you know, he doesn't have any special hitters anymore, so it's not important too much. And then I make a really silly little over-prediction here. I brought in Heatran, and I wanted to go... I thought that either of the moves I can go for, Dragonite takes well, so he'd switch there, but he doesn't, so that was really silly. So I lose Hippo for nothing, where I could have maybe used it for something, I don't know. But anyway, like, I could have at least used it for some switch fodder or something, but I go into Heatran now and Earth Power it now because I didn't want to miss, and, you know, Fire Blast isn't going to do too much to Dragonite anyway. So, basically, this match comes down to now whether Dragonite, what kind of set he is. If he's not max speed and Declaw, I can get him, because I'll be faster with Heatran. If he's max speed and Outrage, I can still get him, because he'll be locked into Outrage to kill Garchomp. And then Heatran comes in and outspeeds it. If he's max speed and Dragon Claw, I might have been in trouble. Might have been able to take a hit on Garchomp. Probably. I'm guessing not. But it was basically, if he's max speed and Declaw, I might have been in trouble. But thankfully, he wasn't max speed and he was outraged. So Heatran has no problem taking it out, which is good. And basically, that's the game wrapped up there. If he'd have been max speed Declaw, I would have been in trouble because he could have switched up to EQ, outsped Heatran, killed it. And you know, Shuckle's not going to stand up to that, unfortunately. He just doesn't have the time. He's asleep and everything. So, now that it's all down, though, I can salvage Heatran because, obviously, I can take 1 Bolt Strike, and I can finish this thing off with Earth Power, which, obviously, I had to switch to get into. So, use Shuckle as switch fodder. He doesn't wake up that entire time. Did I really not burn 1 turn of sleep? Whatever. So, I knew I could take Bolt Strike. This thing's going to go down. That's going to be GG from there. And, pretty good match. I made a lot of screw-ups, I will say that.
Yeah, you can say that again. So many screw-ups, so many misplays. Honestly, it's a lesson in what not to do in a poke battle, guys. Incidentally, I calced it in hindsight, and if it was Jolly Declaw Dragonite, which would have defeated Heatran, my Mega Chomp's actually EV to always live a +1 Jolly Declaw, and then my own Declaw plus 2 rounds of sand would have actually finished him off, so a bit more guaranteed than it seemed. And on that note, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.